The Head of the Schuylkill Regatta is a tradition of exceptional fall racing that began 5 decades ago. The year was 1970. For college graduates, there was no rowing competition offered on the Schuylkill River.
We realized that as soon as you graduated, you really had no place to compete. That's when we came up with the Head of the Schuylkill.
The newly established Head of the Schuylkill Regatta emphasized graduate oarsmen and opened racing to newly emerging masters and women's teams.
The fact that they invited us in, it really meant a lot to us.
The Head of the Schuylkill Regatta now boasts more than 9,000 competitors, with 150 events including para and adaptive, alumni, parent-child, and corporate events.
It's a big race, a lot of entrants, a lot of good competition.
You get a chance to race people from all over the region and all over the United States, and sometimes from other places in the world.
Because of Boathouse Row and all the big names on that row, getting to row on this water and this beautiful river is a pretty nice opportunity.
For over 30 years, the success of the regatta was attributed to 2 dedicated directors who worked tirelessly, not only in planning the scope of the regatta, but executing in the trenches.
Just a beautiful race. People do a great job putting it on. It's just a special event.
So many teams on and off the water working to accomplish something positive.
The Head of the Schuylkill Regatta retains this work ethic as its 300-plus volunteers deliver a world-class event with local flair. Our volunteers are the roots and the future of the regatta. It is often said that there is a draw to the Schuylkill River that is unlike any other. The history, the vista, the fellowship, the challenge. A former Olympian called the Head of the Schuylkill Regatta a racer's race, with serious competition on a no-nonsense, challenging course.
I think it's one of the better head races in the fall. I think it's more of a test of speed.
Our original mission to provide a fair, safe, and competitive regatta for all who want to row is more important now than ever. We showcase Philadelphia and the Schuylkill River not only as the birthplace of American rowing, but in its continued role as one of the most significant rowing venues in the country. We continue to immortalize the stories of the Schuylkill legends and grow the opportunities for legends in the making. We invite you to build your own story and to be part of the tradition of the best head race in the world. Jen Wesson, and on behalf of the Head of the Schuylkill Regatta Board of Directors, I welcome you to Night 5 of our 50th Anniversary Celebration programming. We're happy to team with the Women of the Row to bring us together this evening for a chance to connect and share thoughts on how we are surviving the pandemic and how we envision our future. First, I'd like to give a huge thanks to Five Tribes Cinema Productions and Colin Stewart. He's a graduate of Drexel University and now alumni of the Drexel Rowing Dragons. His energy and thoughtfulness really made our 50th anniversary video shine. So we thank him and his group. While 2020 has presented challenges for everyone, it has also uncovered opportunities, like the ability to gather on various subjects that are near and dear to our heart. While we try to show our mission and goals every regatta weekend, to verbally convey them has been something quite different. While each night has had a different theme, the commonality that has been found is that we all recognize what this sport has given to us, and that we want to share it with as many people as possible. So I encourage you to go ahead and take a look back at our YouTube page and watch all the recorded programs from this week. And of course, to join us for our closing ceremony in concert with Jack St. Clair, a local favorite, tomorrow night. So let's get to the program. We have an amazing group of women waiting for us this evening to chat and catch up, reconnect, engage. But I'm going to introduce one of the founders of Women of the Row, Mara Kennedy. She is the marketing director at Pond Lehocky Law Firm, a contributor with Forbes, and serves as a chair for UBC's Communications Committee. She's one of the founders of Women of the Row. Mara has been rowing for 20 years, rowing for the Junior National Development and Selection Camps, recruited to Boston University, a coach at Bishop Eustace Prep, and is a current member of University Barge Club and Cooper River Club in South Jersey. So welcome, Mara. Thanks for coming out tonight.
Thanks, Jen, and thank you to Head of the Schuylkill Regatta for inviting us here tonight and kicking off the 50th anniversary weekend, which we're really excited about. And thank you to everyone who's joining us tonight and listening in. We have an awesome lineup of speakers, but first I want to talk a little bit about Women of the Row. It was started about 2 years ago when a group of women came together and said that we just want to have more conversations among women of Boathouse Row. We want to connect the clubs. We want to share stories and learn about our history. Maybe put up some images on those boathouse walls of women rowing. And so we've had a few events. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we haven't had any in-person events, but we're so happy to reconnect virtually with all of you here. So we heard a lot from people who just want to know what's going on with other clubs. What are other boathouses doing during the pandemic? How are people finding ways to not only survive, but thrive during the pandemic? And people just want to hear from each other, want to reconnect. And so we thought that this was a perfect opportunity to do that tonight. And we have some incredible women who are joining us here from clubs around the area. I'm going to kick it off first with Nan Dormans, but before I even start that, I'd just like to say if you could clarify whether or not the questions I'm putting out there to you tonight are your personal view or your club view, if that's needed. So Nan, I'm going to ask you first to start off by just giving an introduction on who you are, what clubs you belong to, and a little bit about your rowing history.
Okay, hi, I'm Nan Dormans. I row out of Vesper and Upper Merion Boat Club. I initially started at the age of 45 rowing 17 years ago. At Bachelor's Barge, I learned how to row and switched to Vesper 7 years ago. I did it for a lot of different reasons. I have 3 daughters that rowed, and so now I'm the only one that is continuing the tradition. It's something, I guess, when I learned to row, I wanted them to see that you could teach an old dog new tricks. That at the age of 45, I thought it would be something fun. Oh, sorry, my cat. And I've been enjoying, competing the last 17 years in doubles, quads, singles, and so forth. So
thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So what's rowing look like during the pandemic for Vesper and Upper Merion?
Well, and initially for Vesper, obviously we couldn't get on the water. So what the club did was allowed members to take the ergs home. And so we had erg sessions 4 times a week on Zoom. And it would be a group of 6 to 10, usually women, that would row together just so that we could continue to connect. And once we were able to get back on the water in June, Vesper took boats, singles up to Hines Rowing Club, which has been very generous in allowing people from the row to row up there. So we have 6 boats that are now available to us. And at this point in time, we're not in club boats. That remains to be seen. I guess we'll have to revisit, but right now it's off limits for Vesper. However, Upper Merion, we are in club boats. If we're in a pod, we have to row with the same people all the time in a team boat. So.
Okay. And are you guys still doing any kind of virtual events? Has there been any reconnection with those erg practices and workouts?
We haven't been doing those as much, but we have been informally, different groups of people from Vesper have been having Zoom cocktail hours, as well as, different groups connecting. And then also there were a few Saturday nights of Zoom Cards Against Humanity. with Vesper members. I think the first one had 16 people. It was just a way to reconnect. So, and people taking walks together, always on a more informal basis. And we do have Nick Good, our master's coach, has been sending out weekly workouts. And now that we're back on the water, they're more geared towards being on the water. So that's been very helpful too. And then he's always available if you have questions about the workout. And so it's been fun, kind of trying to challenge each other.
Great. And rowing out of Upper Meriam, do you guys form pods, and how does that work?
Yes. I'm in a pod that we can row doubles or quads, and it's 6 people, and it's always the same. I can row with any of the other 5 people within that pod in a team boat, but no one else. So that's the way they're doing it.
How did people pick their pods?
Just people that you've rowed with in the past, people that are not necessarily on your level, but people that you're very comfortable rowing with. So
that makes sense. Yeah. Have Vesper members tried to find other means outside of Vesper that you know of rowing, whether it's on the Schuylkill, on different rivers, the Cooper River, for example?
Yes, several members have joined Cooper River. I've rowed a few times with the South Jersey Rowing Club, and I know that there's several people that are rowing at Mercer, and one woman is rowing in Princeton. So we're kind of spread out quite a bit, but in light of the pandemic and the dredge, at least we're getting on the water, and I think we're all happy and grateful to be back on the water. So
what's a feeling of, what do you look forward to in the next year of rowing? 2021, is it getting back on the water? Is it, reconnecting, hopefully?
I think it's both. I think it's one thing that I really miss, and I know this may sound silly, but after practice at Vesper, all the women are in the locker room. There may be 15, 18 women, and everybody's talking at the same time, and we're tired and we're excited and we have coffee, and there's just a certain camaraderie that I really miss. So I'm looking forward to that again. Vesper is, because of COVID now, we have iCrew, and we are, if you want to work out at Vesper, you can go down, you have to sign in and register with iCrew. We have all the safety measures in place so that you register for a 1-hour slot. I believe there can be 5 people in the club at a time, and no showers allowed. You're just allowed to go in, work out, and then leave within that hour. So we're slowly getting back to normal, but it's right now, until the pandemic is over, it's kind of hard to see exactly what 2021 is going to look like.
Do you think some of the technology differences, like the iRow, will stick around? Will we see some things from the pandemic continue on?
Yes, iCrew is a wonderful program. They're using it when we use boats at Hines. As I said before, Hines has been most generous, Lois Hines, in allowing clubs to take boats up there, and individual members too. I believe we have 12 Vesper members that have their boats up at Hines. And so it's kind of fun to connect with members up there as well. So it's been good.
Well, thanks so much, Nan. I'm going to throw a question out to the viewers, actually, and a similar question to what I just asked Nan. What does paddling or rowing look like for you during the pandemic, or your club? So if you just want to chat in the side chat there and get the conversation going, and we can hear from all of you on what's going on with rowing during the pandemic. So I'm going to introduce the next speaker. We have Margot Angelopoulos. Margot, if you want to just talk about who you are and what clubs you belong to, and a little bit about your rowing history.
Sure, yeah. So my name is Margot Angelopoulos. I'm a member of the Fairmount Rowing Association. my rowing history, I was fortunate to start rowing shortly after college. I was spoken for. I did track and field in college. So I had a couple of roommates in college that were rowers, and I was itching to do it, but I was spoken for. So shortly after college, I found a club and started rowing with masters, and that was it. I was sold. So when I came to Philadelphia, I rowed with my Glad School club, and that's what landed me at Fairmount, which for those of you that know, the club's on Boathouse Row. Fairmount is not known for its women. I've been maybe trying to change that. But so I feel greatly embraced by the rest of the women on Boathouse Row, and the women of the row certainly has connected me with a lot more of you. So I'm very grateful for that. But yeah, I've been rowing for about 12 years. I fit into it well at 6'2". So
Tall people in rowing. I know it well. Yeah,
it helps. It helps.
It does. So how are members there at Fairmount staying upbeat during the pandemic? What are you guys doing to make it work?
I think the rogues at Fairmount are sometimes maybe in denial and just optimistic that any minute now it's all going to end and we'll get back to normal. And in the meantime, they've been able to, we are very, very fortunate at our club that we benefited from a member who could give us access to a trailer up in the parking lot by Temple. And we've been able to get on the water. So we've had a couple singles and gigs up there. And then more recently got an 8, and I got to go out in the 8, and it was the greatest feeling. Safe or not, unclear, but it was certainly, I was out in a single a couple of times, handful of times, and getting an 8 was a really nice feeling. But every time I run into a couple of guys up there while we're getting out to row, it's always just so great to see everyone. And they, a bunch of them say they miss, just like Nan said, they miss the camaraderie. But I think everyone's eager to get back to it and then do what we need to do. And the minute the docks and the ramps are back in after the dredge, guaranteed Fairmount's going to be kind of in force as much as they can. So I think that's keeping everyone ready to go.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us. I'm going to actually bring in more speakers and then kick it off with some specific questions to each speaker and allow you guys to kind of have a conversation after that. So next speaker I'm going to introduce is Rebecca Grabowski from Temple. Rebecca, if you could just talk about who you are, a little bit about Temple and your rowing history.
Sure. Thanks, Maura. I am just grateful for this opportunity to be here and connect with other rowers. My rowing career started, I was a walk-on back in college at Holy Cross. I was a runner in high school turned rower. The irony is I didn't want to run in college because I didn't want to run in those little bathing suit bottoms. So then I instead picked a sport where I have to wear a full spandex outfit, but that's neither here nor there. It was definitely the best decision of my life. So I spent some time learning to row there. My first head of the Schuylkill, I was doing the math, watching the video, was back in 1999. So I was a little sophomore, terrified. And honestly, when I think back on my college career, those were some of the most fun memories, just trips down from Worcester, Massachusetts to Philadelphia. We always had a good contingent of Roman guys that were on the men's team. So we would always dock and launch out of Crescent, which was really cool. It felt like you're getting on the inside, little sneak peek of Boathouse Row, and kind of sparked a relationship. I just loved Philadelphia even back then. So when I graduated from college, I wanted to keep rowing. My college coach was instrumental in that journey. So he kind of got me into coaching and elite level rowing at the same time, which was a journey. And then that journey kind of, with his help, pushed me down towards Philadelphia. And so I sort of started at Undine, bounced to Penn AC following the training and the other lightweight women that were in the area. So went from Undine to Penn AC, landed at Vesper, met some amazing, incredible people along the way. Ended up racing at the World Championships in 2008 with a Vesper quad. It was, again, some of the most amazing people, and the support and the friendships that you make along the way, I think, are really what stand out. When I got done with rowing, I knew I wanted to get back into coaching eventually. So I spent 2 years out at Bucknell in central Pennsylvania, and then made my way back to Philadelphia. I've kind of always had my heart, where my boyfriend at the time, now husband, is, who we met on Boathouse Row. So it's just that whole Boathouse Row love story, bringing everybody together. So I spent 2 years at Bucknell, moved back to Philadelphia, was the assistant coach at Temple for a year, and then took over the program in fall of 2012. And so it's hard to believe, I've been doing the math in my head because it doesn't seem possible, but I'm heading into year 9 as the head coach at Temple. And it's been the most amazing thing, I think, just being part of the Philadelphia rowing community, the Boathouse Row community. The Temple rowing community is also very strong for anybody who's familiar with that. So it's just, I feel incredibly grateful on a daily basis. And we have just been fortunate enough the past 3 weeks to get back on the water. We've had about 10 or 12 rows this fall as a team. And I said to someone the other day, they asked how it's going. I said, it's the most normal I have felt in months, just being out on the water. And so I think anybody who's a rower can relate to that feeling. You just get out there and everything else kind of fades away. And I feel just incredibly grateful to have that opportunity and to be part of this, community. So I'm excited to talk with all of you guys tonight and reconnect on rowing.
Thank you for joining us. And yeah, I think all of us identify with that feeling. Definitely. Next speaker I'd love to bring in is Brandon Johnson. And Brandon, if you could just talk about who you are, what club you belong to, and a little bit about your rowing history.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Johnson. I am the owner-operator of BLJ Community Rowing. I grew up, I'm born and raised in Philadelphia, West Philadelphia specifically. I would sing this song, but it's been done before. It's a little trite. And I've been in this sport since I was 15. I trained at a Vesper, trained for the national team. I went to Boston University every summer. Went to University of Texas on a rowing scholarship, and then raced professionally after that. And I think, it's for a West Philly girl. I think, rowing, I've had my best and some of my worst moments in rowing. And I think it's really kind of informed my mission, which is, basically to just create an environment and remove the boundaries and just make the sport more accessible. I think rowing is a great vehicle for a better life. And, I was the first in my family to go to college and then to come back and, I was training for national team and coaching on the side for some extra margarita money, actually. And then what happened as a kind of, I guess, serendipitous accident is people really started to get involved and want to participate, specifically from my neighborhood. And I still live where I grew up. And, we've grown into, a really kind of great organization in the community. We just got an award for being the only Black-owned rowing organization in the country, which is crazy. And I wake up at 4 a.m. And I thought, I read an article one time that said that people see the sunrise are happier, and I think that's crap. I have been training for a long time. I sleep in like nobody's business. And, basically, I work a 15-hour day, but I think that the sport is brutal but beautiful. And I think I'm super passionate about providing access to everyone, because I think outside of swimming, it's going to be the best full body workout that you're going to get. And then I also think it is the epitome of the best team sport. So, I think, I'm excited. I'm very difficult to find. I'm easy to find, but I'm difficult to get because I'm usually in a boat. Literally, I spend more time on water than I do on dry land. But, Mara's been reaching out. Boathouse Row has been reaching out. And, I think with the current sort of cultural climate, we've spent more time actually having conversations and getting traction and really kind of connecting. And I think, that's one of the positives with the pandemic is, people really have to be intentional about their conversations. You have to have, connections, and people are looking to connect. And I think that rowing is a great opportunity and sort of vehicle for that.
It's really incredible what you're doing in your club, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. Last speaker I'd like to introduce is Krista Atkins. Krista, if you could just talk about who you are and your club, and a little bit about your rowing history.
Sure. Thanks, Mara. First, wanted to say what an honor to first be asked to speak tonight, in addition to being with so many other awesome women, especially some of those who really inspire me. So thanks. Krista Adkins. I have been rowing, I did the math quickly before, 18 years. I feel like I'm not that old to be rowing 18 years. I fell in love with the sport doing a rowing camp called Row For It down in Wilmington, Delaware at WYRA, Wilmington Youth Rowing Association, and disregarded all other sports and just focused on rowing and just loved it. Rowed in undergrad at George Mason in Fairfax, Virginia, and then needed a little bit of time to let my back heal. Missed the water every single day and joined University Barge Club about 3 years ago and have loved every single moment of it. To have gotten involved in the event side and helping on some of the executive committee things. So I have really enjoyed the sport of rowing. I think the beauty of it to me is the grace, but also the strength. And I think during this time, we all have needed a bit of everything. And the ability to adapt. I think women in general, as I've gotten older, have amazed me at the ability to adapt and overcome, and people in general during this time. So happy to be here and answer any questions.
Thank you for joining us. And I'm going to ask another quick viewer question. Please answer in the chat. What are you guys doing to stay active during the pandemic if you're not able to row? Are there any workouts that you can suggest or group workouts that others can join? Please comment in the side chat. So Brandon, I'm going to ask you a question, and then again, I'm going to open it up to our speakers to jump in and respond to Brandon, or just respond to the question yourself and have fun, have a conversation. So Brandon, how has your club been impacted by the pandemic? And I know you talked about traffic picking up on the river. So what does that look like for you guys now?
I mean, so if we're talking about just structurally, I think, we're not a very community, but we are a business. And I think, this has been a really hard year for us. We are so behind where we normally are. And I think we have to get really creative and think outside the box. I think not having a house, we are a boathouse without walls, has already kind of put us in the mindset to kind of think about things differently. And I think it kind of worked in our favor. We really did think outside the box for a lot of things. But I mean, from rowing in just from singles to rowing a quad, double, to like trying to figure out if I can have people come in and wait in their cars and like there's all people leave to like walk around. To it's been really, really tough. I feel bad complaining because I have friends that have completely lost their businesses and had to close. And I'm gonna say, I think that the one lovely thing that has come out of it is our community is tighter than ever. I mean, people are checking in on, our older members that can't get out. People are dropping things off on porches. I really am kind of awestruck with how the circumstances has caused us to kind of get even closer, which I really have to say I absolutely love. But yeah, it's really been tough. I mean, I think now that team boats have been cleared, we're seeing a lot more traction, but we still have a very delicate population that are just not going to be able to touch the water, and it's heartbreaking, really.
Chris, what is membership at UBC doing to check in on each other or just communicate and make sure that everyone is staying safe, everyone is staying positive, and just a sense of community?
We have continued our ways in the most part. As far as communication, we have a great communication chair and team. Shout out to Mara. But really kept regular communication, and really proud at how our leadership has come together to just continue the conversation about safety and really thinking about all ages of our membership. That span from, I believe, as young as 26 until as old as maybe in the 80s, and just looking out for them. So they have been meeting as a leadership regularly to discuss allowing members to utilize the club still during this time and safety around that, really getting our cleaning policies back up in order, and then also still trying to have fun. We tried the Zoom. We've definitely done that, as all of us are very Zoom fatigued at this point, but still staying connected through in-person, socially distant, out in a yard or large space activities just to catch up. So really proud at the way the club has handled things.
Anyone else want to talk about how their club is staying connected with their members and reaching out, making sure that people are okay and staying active and healthy and happy during the pandemic?
Mara, actually, I'll add one more thing that I have loved, and it has been a saving grace for me. While we cannot row, and I swear, I feel like I look out at the river every day and it looks like butter. I'm like, really? The days we can't row. One thing that one of our members, Maria McDevitt, has started is just an every Thursday workout group, and outdoors, totally safe, using body weight, running the hills, doing push-ups. And that has been awesome just to keep my mental sanity there and also somewhat of a physical body, because drinking wine does not count. I've figured that out over the last couple months. So really thankful for that program too.
I'm going to show up one of these days. I've benefited a lot, just not so much from my, club's perspective, but just any random, particularly early on, erg challenge thing that was going on virtually or pretty much virtually. But particularly if it was sort of easy and not too challenging, it was just something to give me a little motivation to get some exercise. And my gym was actually really good about having virtual things that I got involved in, and it was enough to motivate me to just have something to do. And so it's the very thin thread of keeping afloat. But I didn't muster the courage to do a 4,150 meter piece for the head of school. I probably could have, but
Rebecca, I know for you it looks a little different. How are the students managing still growing during the pandemic?
Yeah, they are a constant source of inspiration. They've been great. I mean, I feel like every turn we've been met with new challenges, and we've kind of been adjusting and adapting. And we joke that, kind of our motto this fall has become, we have a goal for the week and then we have a plan for the day. And we're literally kind of taking it day by day. So like goal for the week and then plan for the day. And a lot of times the goal for the week is like, can we get a little bit better than we were last week? Can we connect with each other in some way? And can we connect with our sport some way, even if it's through video, if we can't get on the water? So they've been great. We obviously have a lot of guidelines that we have to adhere to from a local and city regulation, Temple Navy, and then also Temple as a university in our athletic department. So there was a lot of planning with our, in conjunction with our men's coaches. We also have the same facility. So it's been fantastic. We got to a really good routine. And one of the strange benefits has been the way our boathouse is situated, it's kind of like a one-way flow of traffic in and out. So we have cut down tremendously on lollygagging in and out of the locker room because they can't use the locker room. So they literally show up ready to go, and they, do the warm up and they're ready to get on the water. And I feel like we actually have longer practices now. So it's a strange small benefit. So we're hoping we can keep the efficiency. But yeah, they've been we have them in 2 training pods, and then we have those 2 groups kind of further broken down. Everything is obviously socially distanced and fully masked, except when they're on the water. Coaches are masked at all times. So all of those, cleaning, one-way traffic, everything that everybody else is doing. But I've been really impressed with our team and how they've stepped up. We elected our captains earlier in the summer, so we kind of knew, we anticipated needing a little bit more team leadership this year. So put some really great leadership in place within the team. They've been phenomenal in terms of what does the team need, getting creative. Last weekend we spent Saturday, fully masked and doing a hike in the Wissahickon, just to give them a chance to be together, outside, and trying to find creative ways that we can be active, but primarily getting as many strokes as we can on the water. But yeah, they've been amazing, and they're just excited to be there. I think it just sort of, your perspective shifts a little bit, and you realize that you're grateful for every opportunity that you have. So something that maybe in the past might have been a sticking point or a source of, nerves or challenge becomes just another opportunity. So I think it's really sort of changed the mindset with how they show up every day. And I think in the grand scheme of things, there's actually going to be a huge benefit for us in terms of how we approach things and in our mindset. So it's been we're trying to look at it as a coaching staff and as a team as an opportunity, because that's what it is. Whether we get to race or not, our goal this fall is keep everybody healthy and take as many strokes as we can to get better. And then whatever happens in the spring, we will deal with it. But there's never a time where we're looking at it like this is a wash or it doesn't matter, because it always, there's always an opportunity to get better. And that's kind of been the mindset we've been taking from it. We're learning some things are surprising, and some things you're forced to get better because you have to deal with the challenge. But either way, I would say we are actually in a better space than we've ever been, which is a funny thing to say, but I'll take it. I'm really happy about it.
That's incredible, the mindset shift that you've seen. Has anyone else experienced that personally or with their club and membership, a mindset shift?
I think that because of the pandemic, we realized how much we all miss each other and how much we all get along. And it's been really neat because people check in on each other all the time. And it's actually very exciting to run into a member from Vesper, and share what we've been doing. Some of us have also been doing Peloton and riding bikes and so forth. But I guess it's made me personally realize how much I cherish all of those friendships and relationships and how really special they are. And I'm so lucky to be with this wonderful community.
Mara, the whole pandemic for me has really pointed out how important my internal mental health is and how much I relied on rowing to help me with that. It was such a stress reliever. I didn't have to think. It was so amazing, and still is. But finding other ways to understand how important, being in tune internally sets me up for success, and also kind of giving a little bit more leniency to others during this time. And if someone has had an issue or a conflict, just trying to help them understand it and understand them has been a big learning lesson for me during the last couple months.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I mean, especially during the pandemic, but one of the reasons we started Women of the Row was just because we thought that, this is such an important and wonderful community. Keeping in touch is important and beneficial to our mental health. Even if we don't have an event where, we're all rowing together, just being here tonight and having conversation and talking about what we're all doing is important.
I think going easy on yourself and kind of anything you can do that is positive is phenomenal, and you can't ask for more, whether it's in training, if I get on the erg for 10 minutes, that's 10 minutes that is positive. So, that's how I look at it. I'm not winning any races, but
I have to say I'm grateful to be back on the water and off of the erg though after 4 months. That was a happy day in my life when I got back on the water. I'm sure for everyone.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think I ever enjoyed erging as much as I have during the pandemic, just because it means I get to see friends that I haven't seen in a long time. And it's, that connection, even though the water usually is, our connection to each other, at least the ergs are keeping us together. That's important. Anyone else finding that with their clubs or kind of personal rowing, paddling groups?
One thing we did that was, as a coach, you're constantly worried about the connection piece because Zoom fatigue is for sure a real thing. We did the whole game night and all those, trivia night and things like that that were fun and novel back in March and April, and now they're, kind of over it. So, we're wondering about how to keep our team together. But I do think, again, a benefit is getting access to Zoom and everyone gets comfortable. And so we were able, at least on the collegiate level, to have access to our team over the summer in a way that we normally don't. Normally we can't talk to them, we can't have required meetings, but just given the landscape and everything that was happening with COVID, we had the freedom to have just sort of mental health check-ins. And so we would have weekly team meetings throughout the summer, which we normally wouldn't do. And kind of, earlier, I think someone had, Brandon maybe had mentioned that just the climate of the country throughout the summer. And that was something that we as a team spent a lot of time talking about, and having, as a team, we formed a social justice committee so that we were able to have conversations about real issues that were happening in the country and what our role is in changing and learning and growing together and making not just the rowing world better, not just our team, but the world in general. And so what I found was that we, when we were having those team meetings and talking about really important things, that actually brought the team together a lot closer than any Zoom trivia night could have ever done. So having actual real conversations where you're in a breakout room and you're, learning about each other at a level that, and learning about things together as a team that we might never have had the ability to do before. So to have that access and that willingness as a team to get together and to keep growing. And so I was also really proud of that. So I do feel like that also helps, just being able to connect on real issues. So it sometimes feels like the rowing piece gets separated from everything else that's going on in the world, and that's not the way. You can't do that. And so I think just continuing to connect as human beings on human issues has really made a big difference in terms of where we are as a team. And then wouldn't you know it, everything else gets better. So I just think that's an important piece too, as conversations shift and as we get back towards life after, people thinking about when we get back to real life and rowing and real life, but this is real life. And so continuing to have all those connections and keep being connected as human beings, I think is a really important thing if we're really going to make the sport better and more inclusive and more open and more available. I think that's really something that's important too. So I think that it's not separate from a pandemic. To us, it's all been really together, and I think that's an important point too.
Bravo to you, Rebecca, as a coach. That's awesome.
Yeah, Rebecca, because I feel like oftentimes maybe we don't recognize that until later in life. So this is a real opportunity at the high school and college level for students and rowers to really to get what it is that we get out of rowing, which is a way to approach life, not just how to approach rowing in your workouts. It's how we approach life. And I'm hearing a lot of, we're being more patient with others and with ourselves. And it's giving us more pause to be able to listen to others as well. I mean, Zoom may not be optimal, but it actually makes you stop and you have to, wait for people to talk and finish. And, sometimes we're in such a system that, it's difficult to do that. And this is giving us, a reason to do it. And it's not something we could have never not done before, but it's what I keep calling is you're uncovering these things, these silver linings that, they were there all the time. We're just, we're looking at it in a different perspective now, from a different perspective now. And as much as this has, been a very trying year, and there's so much that has come out of it, that I feel like learning every day. I mean, it's not just those big moments. It's like every day something different that you're learning about yourself and others.
There's no normal phone calls anymore. It's always a video call. So you get that eye contact and that connection with people, and it actually is, and that's the norm now, is having those video calls. Plus,
Right.
I get to learn a bunch of the background that I don't normally know. I didn't know Brandon's background at all, and you're phenomenal. So,
and you get to see if people have cats or dogs or young children running across the screen
in the background.
The pet cameos are key.
We have Pat Loeb joining us. Yay!
Hi, Pat.
Hi,
Thank you
Pat.
for joining us. Oh, you're on mute.
Uh-oh.
Still on mute.
I don't think she's muted. I think she's not working.
Oh, I don't think the audio's working. Pat. Sorry.
We'll let her know in the private chat.
Sorry. Well, Pat is going to talk a little bit about Undine, and she's actually a reporter for KYW, and she was telling us she was chasing around Biden all day trying to film him. So hopefully we'll get her audio working and we can hear a bit. But talking about lessons that we have learned during the pandemic, has anyone else learned some good lessons that they're going to take with them into 2021, or some lessons that the boathouse has learned, whether it's a new IRO system or whether it's members want to be connected more often and have these events, whether it's virtual erg or whether it's a quick get together 6 feet away? Any lessons you guys have learned?
I guess I can take a stab at it. I think one of the most important lessons I think I've learned is being adaptable is a strength. You have to, whenever you're dealing with, something where people are scared, and you have to kind of understand and create an environment where learning is going to happen. And I think for us, I really am going to take away that fear is actually a good thing. I think it unifies people. I think, we're Black run, but we have white people as well. And it was really interesting to watch people understand that safety is an illusion. And I think I saw white people get scared, and I saw Black people be like, oh, well, this was kind of like Tuesday. So I saw like a lot of bonding around this idea of fear and this idea of safety and this idea of, if you take out the economic ramifications and, all of that stuff, like COVID's coming for everybody. If you have a ton of money and if you're very, very poor, it kind of unifies everyone, right? It's your bank account isn't going to save you. So I've seen one thing I will absolutely take away is it was absolutely unifying. And I think, one of our big missions is to make our communities equitable as possible. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've grown so quickly. But I absolutely, as a coach and a leader, and, U.S. Rowing has been reaching out to us a lot, and it's just, I think that is a huge takeaway. Like, for the first time, everyone kind of had to it's coming for anyone. So you really had to have some tough conversations, and there was a lot of learning around this idea of safety and how we move forward from here.
Is anyone else seeing safety changes that they think the boathouse or their club might continue into 2021? Whether it's cleaning of the erg handles or cleaning of the oar handles every time, wiping down every piece of equipment. Is anyone else thinking that this might be a long-term change?
I do, absolutely. I mean, like I had said earlier, we have a COVID policy in place, to really clean everything and sanitize. But I think that in the long term, we're going to be better off doing that. And maybe we should have done that previously a little bit better. So it's a good lesson. But also this has taught me, and I think our team as well, to cherish every day, to really appreciate every day that we're given. And Brianna, I totally agree with what you just said. That was wonderful. Thank you.
My hope is all this extra cleaning. So as a collegiate coach, anybody that coaches like large groups of athletes together, every time they leave at the end of the semester and then they come back in January, everybody gets sick. It's like that time of year. So my hope is that all of this extra cleaning sort of mitigates that normal illness that it always happens. We might get through January and then February hits and you get nailed. Like half the team is out sick for 2 straight weeks. So my hope is maybe all this extra cleaning mitigates a little bit of that in the future. But I would agree with just the value, and you never know when your last row is going to be. And I think that's an important, lesson for a younger generation to learn. And I feel old saying that. I turned 40 this summer. Now I feel like I can say younger generation, but like just thinking about as a coach, I feel like I have a responsibility to help, bridge the gap between what's happening in rowing and what it means to the rest of your life. And so helping, when we had to stand in front of a team on March 12th and say that was it. We're not racing. The season is over. Everyone's going home. Like that's a really hard message to deliver. And then I think to help them navigate the loss that comes with it and the grieving process if you're a senior, and then how do you get back through it together? So I think there's a lot of lessons there that will hopefully carry through to life, because at the end of the day, is it the worst thing in the world? No. Is it painful in the moment? And is it really disappointing? Absolutely. But there is a lot more stuff that's going to be a lot harder to deal with. So if we as leaders can sort of give a frame of reference and not saying that it doesn't matter, because it matters a lot right now, but sort of giving a model of how to deal with difficult situations and what you do as a leader and how you bring people together and how you're like, yeah, there's things about it that are hard, but there's also a lot of things that are great. Like a lot of things that are great. The fact that we get to be on the water, we're in Philadelphia, like that we have a community that supports us, that we will race again. That's what I keep telling my team. I'm like, we will race again. I can't tell you when it's going to happen, but I promise you this is not forever. And I think that's the message that we've been really trying to preach, that this is temporary. And is it uncomfortable? Yes, but there's a heck of a lot of growth that's going to happen in the discomfort, and all of the resiliency that is being used to deal with this right now doesn't go away once COVID is a last year thing or something like a distant memory. Like that is the part that stays with you and it's going to help in the future when things get hard. So just trying to constantly keep the forward, and it's hard sometimes, like as a leader, but I think just constantly reminding ourselves and drawing on my own personal strength and the strength of my staff, but that these are things that are going to make us better humans in the long run, and we can do hard things together. We've done hard things before. We can do hard things as long as we stick together. And I think that's what I appreciate most about the rowing community and about this particular group too. And being in a place like Philadelphia, being able to row in a place like Philly with such a great rowing community as well. But we can do hard things, everybody. We're doing them. We can do it.
Do you think that's common with a lot of particularly collegiate sports? Because I think like student athletes, high school and college, have this very unique hit that they've taken.
Yeah.
And do you think that there's enough good that come out of the resiliency and all the other things you have to do that makes up for what they lose and not competing, and for high school students trying to get recruited for college, or even going beyond college rowing or any of the other sports? Do you think that's a common thing in other sports?
I hope so, but I'm like an eternal optimist where I'm always going to try to find the good thing in it. And I hope so. And I don't think in the moment it's a good thing. And my heart really breaks for all those seniors that missed like high school seniors that missed that process. And right now trying to recruit a senior class that's making decisions without ever stepping foot on a college campus. That's a hard thing to do. And so, we do the best we can with that one, but I have to believe that there's, good in it that's going to come, even if we can't see it right now. Otherwise, what's it all for? And that's a pretty bleak way to look at it. So my hope is that there's a lot of coaches out there that feel the same way. And I think definitely a lot of rowing coaches, I know from talking to them, and a lot of the coaches I work with at Temple feel the same way. We've had a lot of those conversations. So yeah, just trying to keep focused on, we might not be able to see the good right now. We might not see it for another 15 years and when we need to draw on it then, but I have to believe that there's something that it's worth it. You know, I definitely believe it's worth it.
Jen,
you're on mute.
That is.
Oh.
I think that is, that's such a good point, Rebecca. And, you're not going to be able to teach those things right now, like verbalize these things. But I mean, the resiliency alone that folks are getting from this, and the flexibility, it's a different situation every day. Like you said, you take it day by day. And, an update is only, it's difficult to give updates anymore, right? I mean, the next day it could be completely different. I think just people kind of going with the flow a little bit more has been a huge change, especially I think in a lot of our lives. I would never say type A type, but it's definitely a something that has just pulled you back a moment and just allowed you to think through things a little bit more. Or maybe take more risks. I think on the both sides. I think it works on both sides.
We actually have a question from Ann Cutler. It's for Rebecca. How has COVID affected your recruiting? Oh, you're on mute now.
Had to unmute myself. I can't talk too much on the recruiting front, just given the platform right here. But definitely have to talk to you offline about it, Anne. But it's forced us to be really creative, like it has with everything else that we've got going on. Just using the resources that we have, and just getting really creative as a coaching staff, as a team, and just trying to dig into what's really important. And again, back to conversations and getting to know people. Like, I truly care less about your org score than I do about whether or not you're a good human and a good teammate, and you're somebody that's going to show up every day and give your best effort. And that is something you can learn about someone through a conversation. So I think that that's kind of been the focus all along, but especially now makes it the real priority. But again, it's just forced us to be really creative and allowed us to learn and try new things, which has been a benefit again.
Well, I want to make sure we get to this last question, because I know a lot of people are wondering who can't row. Where are you finding ways to row? Are you hooking up with a guest and going out in a pod? Are you paddling now, and where are you paddling? So if you want to comment there, and just let other people know, where you're finding ways to work out. Because it's important that we communicate with each other and help out where we can. So I just want to say thank you to all of our speakers for joining us. Thank you for everyone who joined us, the viewers and our audience today. Please follow us on social media. We have a Facebook page and an Instagram page. We'll post updates there. Let us know if you know of any women who are making an impact in our community. We love to post on social media about that. We have an email distribution list, so if you want to join, email us at info@womenoftherow.com, and we're always looking to share stories with each other. So if you have a story to share, please send us an email as well. Thank you so much for joining us, and Jen, I'll hand it back to you.
No, I just would echo your thoughts and your thanks. This has been really great to see everybody tonight and hear from folks in the chat room. We're all going through unique times, but that's why it was important for the head of the school to do something during this time, to provide, some type of inspiration. And honestly, I wish that everybody could see the emails that I receive, and I'm going to start posting some also on our website. But the stories that people are bringing to the table are quite awesome, and they're just it is about resiliency. And I don't know if it hadn't been for the pandemic, if some folks from Boise, Idaho would have rowed in the 50th head of the Schuylkill this year. So it's just really interesting how reaching folks in different ways is so important. And I think that's, one of the reasons why we started this group is, to break down those walls between boat clubs, to get to put faces to names, to get an intergenerational mix, this is a perfect opportunity to let those high school and college rowers know that there is life after rowing at that level, and that there's a huge network of women out there that are ready to support them. So thank you all for joining us. And Margot, it is not too late to enter the head of the Schuylkill. You can still get that ERG piece in. So 4150 is waiting for you. You have till Sunday evening, deadline extended. It has been really great to see everybody. So thank you very much. And we'll see you again soon. We'll be in contact about the next Women of the Row. I see some comments. Let's do something monthly over this COVID winter. I think that would be great. We can set these up. We can set these up as large Zoom calls. But the head of the Schuylkill will be, happy to help, host those as well. Okay. So thank you, everybody. Big waves to everybody. Mwah, kisses, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Hi, Jen.
Thank you.